Firranos here, and these are the top 5 anticipated features coming to Arcane Odyssey on release. Also, as a heads up, this list isn't in any particular order. Number 5 is Lost Spell Scrolls. Lost Spell Scrolls are items that will be obtainable somewhat rarely from various activities, such as opening sealed chests. There will be varying types which display the name of the skill and the item name. Different lost spells will require different magic levels to be activated. Also, when a lost spell is forgotten, the lost spell scroll is not given back, which will make these scrolls a constantly sought after and traded item. This was all directly from the game's trailer, which I linked in the description if you want to check it out. There will be lost technique scrolls as well, which are lost spell scrolls but for fighting styles. Now that we know what lost spell scrolls are, I will talk about what makes lost spells so important. It's because this is what will add variety to mage builds, since not everyone will be able to have lost spells or the lost spells they want due to the rarity. It will add a lot of variety. You won't know what lost spells your opponent has, and the opponent won't know what lost spells you have. VTEX made the magic system with lost spells and lost magic in mind, so what we got in World of Magic was extremely bare bones. He couldn't add them in World of Magic obviously, since it'd be done with level 70s ran around with lost spells, and now he'll finally be able to add them. Number 4 is the new storyline. I can't review much for obvious reasons, so all I'm going to say is that you no longer need to search for boss across the map using a tracker that may or may not have died by the time you're there. There will also be good dialogue and cutscenes of course, and for those who are wondering, you can no longer pick between a hero and villain storyline. Well, at the start at least. Who knows, maybe we'll get multiple endings later on. Number 3 is the combat revamp. I'll start with the minor changes first. First minor change is the addition of dodging, which you can do by double tapping or using shift. You can change which one you prefer in the settings, or you can have both enabled. The second minor change is that perfect blocking got replaced with parrying, and you now knock back the enemy when you successfully parry. The third minor change is that you can now M1 in the air, but it will cost more stamina. I probably missed some other minor changes, but let's get into the more exciting changes to combat. A lot of weapons were added along with a lot of weapon skills, and they're now viable. If you don't believe me, check Mem here's weapon showcase video. Some weapon skills are even grabs that can be used to start a combo. Another big change is the addition of fighting styles. As of the time I'm recording this, they aren't in the game, but they will be added before release. Just like Magic, fighting styles will have lost and ancient variants, but those won't be coming on release. There are a ton of planned fighting styles, even on the trailer, and those aren't including the ones VTEX hasn't publicly announced. Since fighting styles is ages away at the time of recording this video, meaning a lot of stuff is subject to change, so what I'm going to say is that some fighting styles are returning from Arcane Adventures. There are way more than that of course, so I recommend you check the trailer, which I linked in the description. Before I move on to the next change, there will be lost techniques as well, which will add variety to fighting style builds for those who are concerned. As for magic combat changes, there isn't much other than hover becoming lost spell and lost spells as a feature, which I discussed why they are a major change earlier in this video. This is subject to change of course, so only time will tell. Before I move on to number 2, I have an honorable mention, which is mobile compatibility. It's not that big of a deal for most people, considering it will be bad for PvP, but I know there are people who would care about it, so I made it an honorable mention. I guess it'd be nice for fishing, especially when you're outside or when you want to do something else while fishing. Number 2 is cooking. I won't go into much detail since Select Torch made a vid on it, but I'll cover some of the basics and concerns about cooking. Different types of ingredients will give different types of buffs, and you'll be rewarded if you get out of your way to get good ingredients. There's also a cooking skill level which you can grind for to make better meals. If you don't want to cook and want to live on food like an ape, that's fine, but you'll be rewarded if you actually put effort into it. Don't worry if you can't figure out how to cook, because there will be a quest that teaches you how to cook, unlike a certain permadeath PvP game. Now I'll talk about the concerns about cooking some people have been having, especially the PvP heads. I've seen people complain that cooking will be OP, and my answer is no, don't worry about it. It's not some broken by concept move that is either OP or useless due to bad design. If it is a bit strong, all VTEX has to do is literally change numbers. I know as a fellow PvP head that it's a pain in the ass that cooking is another thing you need to worry about min-maxing, but you have to remember that this isn't a PvP focused game. It's not debroken. Arcane Odyssey isn't a PvP focused game. Arcane Adventures and World of Magic wasn't either. Yes, the PvP in Arcane Odyssey will be good, but it's not a PvP focused game. Now for the final feature, which I personally anticipate the most, which is the Dark Sea. In this game you can sail outside of the War Seas cluster and into the great unknown world beyond, known as the Dark Sea. These are areas clouded in thick fog with unpredictable and lethal weather patterns that only get worse the further out you go. If you want to venture out into these seas, you must be prepared, and if you come back to the War Seas alive, you will be rewarded heavily. Strong enemies and NPCs can spawn here, as well as randomized bosses. Mirage Islands can also be found out here, which are random generated, and some pre-made islands which spawn in random locations, simulating the unpredictableness of the Dark Sea. Ships with low stability stats would take constant damage here, meaning it's required to have a good ship to enter. These are what you can expect to find in the Dark Sea. Unique item sets, unique ghost ships, unique fruits, unique sea monsters, and extreme weather. When really deep into the Dark Sea, insanity and magic weather. I'm sure you get that it's going to be a cool feature by now, but I can't stress enough how important this feature is. This will be a good portion of Arcane Odyssey's replayability, and it ties into all the other features like sealed chests and ghost ships. Other than the exclusive loot the Dark Sea will provide, there will be better cooking ingredients and even more benefits that aren't public or will be added in the future. There's a private testers only Dark Sea suggestions document, and all I'm going to say is that the Dark Sea will be even better if the good suggestions there get added. And for those who are wondering, PvP will be enabled in the Dark Sea, and you will lose all of the loot you get if you die in both PvE and PvP. Losing your loot in PvP won't become a problem though, because it's unlikely that you'll encounter someone, and people can't camp specific entrances since there are so many directions you can enter and leave. I'd say it'd only be a problem if an exploiter killed you, but it'd be obvious if that does happen in the Dark Sea since they'd have to teleport to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll answer them if I can, or if you would like to see a sequel of this video. Also, consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to see more of my content and support it. This is the end of the video. See you later. Bimhir Island is real.